All right, good evening. We're going to call our meetings to order. There are two meetings here, so we're going to do roll call for both meetings, and then we're going to switch from Planning Commission back to JETSCO. For those of you who don't know, Joint Extraterritorial Zoning Committee, and then we're going to go back into the Mequon Planning Commission, so just hang with us here. We haven't done this for a while, so if we mess up, staff will correct us, I'm sure. So let's call both the Mequon Planning Commission and JETSCO to order and call the rolls separately and make sure everyone knows which is which.
Okay, we'll
Thanks,
call the
Robin.
Planning Commission meeting first. Roll call. Commissioner Ellsworth.
Here.
Commissioner Barnes.
Here.
Commissioner Urbani.
Here.
Commissioner Chorin.
Here.
Commissioner Hawley.
Here.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Here.
Commissioner Stoker.
Here.
Alderman Parrish.
Here.
Mayor Nurbin.
Here.
Okay, and now I'll call the roll for the JETSCO committee. Commissioner Schaefer.
Here.
Commissioner Ellsworth.
Here.
Commissioner Barnes.
Here.
Commissioner Toma. Commissioner Stemper.
Here.
Commissioner Robinson.
All right, we have two quorums. First up, we have meeting minutes from last Planning Commission, last month's Planning Commission meeting. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or corrections to those minutes? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Next, we have the consent agenda consisting of, looks like 4 items. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Go through each one individually real quickly, please?
Do you have one in particular you'd like to pull out?
Yes.
Then, because we'll pull that one out and we'll take the others up as consent.
Okay. The TNT fireworks, B, 3B.
Okay, so we'll take that up separately. So there's a motion, is that a motion to approve the consent agenda absent item B?
Yes.
Okay.
I will re-second.
Okay, there's a re-motion and a re-second. Okay. So we are voting on items A, C, and D. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I will now take up item B. Is there anything in particular you wanted to ask staff while they're here?
Well, I guess I would request just a little further clarification of what's in there about allows it despite the city ordinance. I know we had this agenda before us last year.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did
it's-
approve this item last year.
Correct.
These are not fireworks in the illegal sense. They're novelty items, but they're also referred to as fireworks. But if staff's got more info, please share.
Yeah, this, if you'll remember last year in June, this was the same applicant, same project at the same location. There was some initial back and forth between fire department and the city attorney about the legality of selling fireworks in the city, and that's what's referenced in that code section in the report. And there was a conversation last year with Brian, the city attorney. Ultimately, the decision that was made was that the applicant certified to both SOFD and the city attorney that the fireworks they're selling are the legally approved fireworks that our code does allow.
And what is it that makes them legally approval?
That is not my area of expertise, but they do have a list within, I believe it should be in the packet, of all of the detailed.
I think the key point for the commission is our experts in the fire department
Yeah.
reviewed it and found them to be compliant both last year and this year.
Yeah, and similar to last year, their SOFD is going to go out to the site and verify that, you know, it's set up safely and that they're selling what they're saying they're selling.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on item B, or is there a motion?
Motion to approve item B.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any last parting words? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And that
Aye.
item, oh, I got you. That item is approved. Okay, on to the public hearing / JETSCO items. Would you like me to kick this off? I'm going to chair it, but I'm not a voting member. Is that correct?
Yes, you can kick it off.
Okay. First of which is item 4A, Lori Clark for the Launch Equity Acquisition Partners. Applicant is seeking rezoning recommendation approval within the town of Grafton joint extraterritorial zoning area for the 35.5 acre parcel located at 997 Lakefield Road in the town of Grafton, from the town of Grafton's A1 prime agricultural zoning district to town of Grafton's A2 agricultural zoning district and R3 urban single family residential zoning district to allow for a 1 acre parcel and an approximate 34.5 acre parcel. Is there a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
I think only the Jetsco folks get to vote on this.
Yes, I was just going to remind that the rest of the commission can discuss the item, but
Yep.
only the 6 Jetsco members can vote on
Just
it.
can't make motions and vote, but we can participate. Yeah, you can't second, unfortunately.
I'll make that motion, Mr.
Okay, there's a second. All right. Thank you. Everyone in favor of public, we have to call a roll on this?
No.
No, okay. Everyone in favor of entering public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? We are now in public hearing. Is there anyone here this evening who wishes to speak on this item? Hearing and seeing none. Is there a motion to close public hearing? Oh, wait a minute. I saw a late hand go up. Yep, please go up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, and time limit is 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lester Bartell Jr., Chairman of the Town of Grafton, 1833 East River Road, 53024. Just because I'm the most ancient one on the board and probably have more seniority than a lot of people put together. The history on this parcel is Ms. Clark used to own this parcel, sold it to another party. They were under contract with that party they would divide this acre off in the farmhouse to her down the road. So it was totally in compliance when they did their contract. For reasons that don't need to be discussed here, it went longer, and it was like 7-8 years now, and they want to execute that contract. The town of Grafton has no problem with this. It's not a new development. It's simply dividing 1 acre and the farmhouse off the larger parcel, and we hope that you will give it favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here this evening who wishes to speak on this item? Hearing and seeing none, is there a motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of closing public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are back in regular Jessica's session, and if anyone wants to ask staff questions or discuss things, now's a good time to do so. I'm going to just listen.
Well, that was a good summary. And just to provide some additional context, this is for the property at 997 Lakefield Road in town of Grafton. This area is within the 2005 Jetsco area, which you can see in the exhibit on the board there. This is where the city has previously exercised extraterritorial zoning authority. For some brief history, and Jack will go into this more in his item, the city exercised extraterritorial zoning authority in 2003 and 2005 over all the portions shown in Exhibit A, including this subject property. And since the Common Council hasn't weighed in on the issue of extraterritorial zoning in some time, staff presented the issue in March of 2026. And as a group, the Common Council decided to continue exercising extraterritorial zoning authority. So this application is particularly for a rezoning from A1 to R3, and that's for the 1 acre parcel to be divided from the larger 35.5 acre farmstead. And then it'll also be a rezoning request from A1 to A2 because the remainder parcel will no longer meet the minimum lot size for the A1 zoning district. Similar to what was already summarized, we're supportive of the rezoning request. It's a minor request from an extraterritorial perspective. It's consistent with the local planning objectives and poses no measurable impact to the Mequon community. Again, while the current zoning standards have changed, it's compatible with the surrounding development patterns, which you can see in Exhibit B below this one. And there's similar lot sizes that already exist nearby. It's not planned to alter the existing character or use of the property, so staff is supportive of both the rezoning requests from A1 to R3 and A1 to A2.
I don't know who
Commissioner
calls on
Schaefer,
me.
yeah.
Just a question on page 44, the letter from, I think, the applicant. It notes, this is probably more relevant to the next item, but just to clarify, it says the town's minimum lot size requirement has changed to 3 acres.
I don't know if the applicant can speak on that particularly. Is that? I think the minimum.
Item, it says since then, and I know that I understand that there's been changes in how the zoning has been defined since then, but are we not talking about R3 being a 1 acre that is an existing zoning?
In the town of Grafton, the R3 residential zoning district is a 3/4 acre minimum lot size.
So the note that says the town's minimum lot size requirement has changed to 3 acres is not accurate.
Correct.
Okay, it's just in this letter and it confused me.
How I wrote it.
Okay. It's relevant more to the next item, so that was why I wanted to confirm. Thanks.
Commissioner Parrish.
Hi, good evening. Thank you to staff and the town of Grafton folks for coming out. I'm not sure that Common Council necessarily agrees with staff's recommendation here, so just want to kind of backtrack a little bit on the history of the area and maybe some of the areas where council was concerned. Ultimately, it comes down to dense use of land near critical corridors, whether it's the Milwaukee River or the Leo Creek. And we've been very careful about development coming to Mequon and kind of what are our standards. And I know this is really, it's important to note this is 2 separate developments, and I'm not quite sure that everyone understands that either. And I'll have Jack correct me if I'm wrong, but one relates to the town chairman's request relating to a 1 acre split off farmstead, which that one needs to be extraterritorially approved, which I don't believe council has any issue with.
We're only talking about that.
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
the only item we're just speaking with right now.
That is the item we're talking about.
Okay, so don't talk about,
The other one is item.
The other one will come up after with this one.
okay. All right, well, you'll know kind of where I'm coming for the next item. And for this particular item, I don't think we had any particular concerns.
I'd like to move for acceptance and moving ahead with the staff recommendation for approval of the rezoning of the proposed 1 acre lot.
I would second.
So motion and a second. Any further questions, discussion? We don't need any, we don't need to take the time. All those in favor, let's do a roll call since I'm really shaky on half the names in this committee, just because they're new faces for me.
Okay.
Take it away, Robin.
Commissioner Barnes.
Yes.
Commissioner Ellsworth.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson. Commissioner Stemper.
Aye.
Commissioner Toma. Vote passes.
Okay, I
Aye.
Or approval.
think we're
Oh, Jacko.
just the Jetsco folks on these 2 items. We just get to provide comment and,
This is different.
yeah, it's a little different. Yep. The next item, Newman Developments Incorporated for Lebanon Family Limited Partnership. The applicant is seeking rezoning recommendation approval within the town of Grafton extraterritorial zoning area for a 185 acre parcel located at 1306 to 1372 Pioneer Road from town of Grafton A1 prime agricultural and A2 agricultural zoning district to town of Grafton's R3 urban single-family residential zoning to allow for 112 single-family residential lots within the town of Grafton. Is there a motion to go into public hearing for this item?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? We are now in public hearing for item 4B. Is there anyone here this evening who wishes to speak on this item? Hearing and seeing none is, oh, I see one hand. Please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and tell us what's on your mind.
Miriam Colton, 14350 North Riverland Road, Mequon. I thought maybe somebody else would come up. That's a ridiculous amount of housing for that corridor. I don't understand how. It's all swampland. I don't know how Pioneer Road can handle it. I don't know how Port Washington Road can handle it. So I hope you're all on board with that. That's all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here this evening who wishes to speak on this item? Hearing and seeing none, is there a motion to close public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of closing public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are back in regular session, and we'll get a staff report and then open it up for questions and debate.
So this request is for 112 lots on 185 acres in the area. I have the map up on the screen in front of you, so we can look at the area in context with the city of Mequon. The entranceway is directly across from Saddlebrook Park entranceway. This area in general was reviewed by our JETSCO back in 2008. And at the time, there was a discussion between the members where I think originally they felt it was pretty much the same kind of densities, but at the time we were still pretty much beholden to the 5-acre residential zoning. We ended up agreeing to our CDO with an R2 zoning at the time, which would allowed for a density of about 2.5 acres per lot. So that was the agreement. Unfortunately, the housing market crashed at the time, and the developer withdrew his application, so the town reverted the zoning back to the A1 and A2, which it currently sits at today. So this request would go to A3, which would allow the lots in the density. Now, I guess what happened in Mequon recently has been a little bit different in terms of the philosophy, and I'm going to pull up our zoning map to show you kind of our zoning area in relation to this area. So the area that we're talking about in question is just basically up in this area here. The zoning, it basically bifurcates the Uleo Creek. So on to the west side of the Uleo Creek is all 5-acre residential zoning. On the east side of is the Uleo Creek different zoning districts that we've created several years ago. The Uleo Creek zoning districts allow for densities that are similar to what we're seeing here with this proposed plan. In fact, if you look at the plan again, this plan almost meets the Uleo Creek zoning in terms of the layout and everything. The only thing it doesn't meet is the 30-foot open space buffer around the perimeter. It doesn't meet the 30% open space lot coverage requirements, but I did talk to the developer. Their plan only shows the floodplain and wetlands. So when you include the rest of the open space in that area, they're actually roughly around 25%. So they're not closer than what I thought they were. So by increasing the buffer to the 30 feet around the perimeter and extending the 200-foot buffer out along Pioneer Road, they're actually pretty close to meeting that 30% requirement. Again, this plan would be consistent with the Uleo Creek zoning that we have in place for the rest of the Port Washington corridor. So I think the issue comes down to whether we want to see this kind of fall under the Port Washington Road Uleo Creek standards or our old R1 5-acre standards. The difference would be significant in terms of the number of lots. The 5-acre, if we go with the 5 acres densities, you're talking about 35 lots total. So I think that's a big discussion and we need to have tonight. At the council meeting, they seem to be less concerned with the stuff happening on the north. They were more concerned about what's happening on the south. And we added the 200-foot buffer along Pioneer Road to kind of emulate what we used to do with our R1 zoning in terms of the 5-acre densities with the 200-foot buffer. So and the other thing we added in our staff report was that we wanted to see this to be on mound systems for the development. So we don't want holding tanks out here. So we added a recommendation that they would have to make passing soil tests at the time. I think in the report it actually talks about prior to common council. I talked to the applicant about that as well. They're okay with the condition as long as it can be done prior to preliminary plat. So I think we can make a modification to that requirement if necessary. Other than that, I guess I'll just open up for discussion. And again, all the other members can weigh in, and just only the 6 members can vote on this. And this will go to common council in May for approval eventually, if we have a passing vote tonight.
All right, we'll open up the floor for, oops, sorry, I muted myself.
Can I just ask a question of staff?
Sure, Commissioner Parrish.
I'm just trying to understand, how are you saying that it's like identical as the Uleo Creek corridor when, like, the key difference, I'm just reading it. Well, first of all, I understand the cluster subdivision. It does meet that standard. It does get up to 0.75 acres, 0.3 to 0.75 acres, so I agree there. Uleo Creek does allow mound system, so you're right there. The only reason they're skipping over Uleo Creek and going over to the town of Grafton is because we require, in that case, we would require a community well, and we would require public water generally to come down the corridor, which is our goal. And so I think council had a lot of concerns, in particular with the southern half of this development. I think north of Bonniewell, our feedback to them was, well, whatever you want to do kind of on the north half, fine. If you want dense 0.3 acre lots where everyone is using their pesticides and using their wells in the same water, I guess that makes sense, not. So that's why it is a certain density. This is a really critical area, is what you heard the nice lady say. In fact, former Mayor Abendroth emailed some of us and reminded us why we rezoned. We kept a lot of this to 2.5 acre due to the lack of water and sewer adjacent to sensitive lands bordering Uleo Creek and Milwaukee River, and it is ecologically unwise to allow a project of this size and density in this area. So I'm of the belief that, I guess I'm fine with the development as long as they have public water there. So whether they want to bring it from the village of Grafton or they want to run it up down our corridor and they want to hook up their dense development to Mequon's water, that's fine with me. But to allow this just across the border, it would be, that was not what our residents want, for sure.
Well, I'll just address, you are correct. The Uleo Creek cluster development allows to have 32,000 square foot lots, which this meets. It requires an open space ratio of 30%, which they can meet. It would require a 30-foot perimeter buffer, which this could meet. It requires a minimum lot width of 100 feet, which it meets, and the density meets our requirements.
What about water?
The issue of water, I guess I'll defer to Cole, but they would, if this was in the city of Mequon, they would have to ask the water utility for a deferral on the property of Mequon, which I think will happen. We have a couple coming up within the next few months. My guess is in the same general area that'll be in that same spot. I don't think there's any requirement in the zoning code to require a community well. That's a choice they would have to make.
I believe that's correct. It could be private system or community well if it's a big enough development.
More efficient probably to do it, but when the water comes by a residential development in Uleo Creek, is it not true that that residential development will have to connect?
Again, I'll defer to Cole. If he's here, he can speak to that issue.
All right, thanks.
He's here.
Yeah, and like Mayor said, this will go to council as well, given it gets passed. So we'll have more water utility staff at that meeting, but I can try to answer.
I want JETCO and Plan Commission to be educated, because that's like a key difference.
Yeah.
It's like the one difference.
So at least in the Uleo Creek zoning, I mean, we've only had one development come through since that was put in place, but that development eventually applied for a water deferral because they were at the furthest extent from the available water main. And basically what the deferral does, like you correctly stated, was once the water is constructed in front of that property, they would be required to connect to it. I don't think that we permit exemptions in that area, but those are kind of the two different mechanisms in the regarding the water.
And in this case, even if the water ever did get there, which it's about a $2 million project last time we checked, I think it's a couple miles. In this case, we wouldn't even be able to make them hook up to that public source. So they're just going to be using the well and aquifer right in that corridor. So I think there's a reason why we spent 2 years on the Uleo Creek Committee. Alderman Box here in the audience, Commissioner Stoker was on this. I think Mayor Andy was on it. We spent a lot of time in this, and as far as I'm concerned, this is the exact same standards as Uleo Creek. And if it doesn't have public water, I think that would be really bad for the environment. I think it's really too dense as it is for where it is. But for me, and even if it passes here, like, we're just gonna talk about this further at Common Council. So I think the developer should be exploring public water.
For the record, I was not on the Uleo Creek subcommittee, but I was on the council at the time.
Commissioner Hawley was, though.
Okay, we've got some representation here. Any other comments or feedback? I think it was well within the purview of people making motions here tonight that could ask for a eventual hookup if we ever get water 2 miles up the road, which is not going to happen in the foreseeable future, but it could happen someday. Commissioner Schaefer.
I don't know if this is out of turn, and Jack, you can say if it is, but I think the whole notion of this is pretty unique, right? Or it's unique to us. I don't know if JETSCO is something that many municipalities leverage. I had to have Jack explain it to me because I didn't understand how one municipality can sort of suggest to another, not suggest. I didn't understand how it worked or why it was even a thing. And maybe I was the only one and everyone else has a perfect understanding of it. But if not, I wonder if it's valuable to kind of explain. I mean, I guess it's in the packet, but the intent is really I'll try it and you tell me if I'm
Okay.
wrong. The intent is when you have abutting municipalities.
Townships, only townships.
Only townships.
Yes,
So
correct.
because it's town of Grafton and not city of Grafton, and it's because it's because they're held to, they don't have the same government, they don't have the same like, a
Typically,
planning
yes.
commission that would
Yeah,
necessarily oversee zoning the way that we would.
Also, you could make an argument that because of some communities will annex that land, they want to know what's going on there as well. That's another option. So it only applies to townships. It does not apply to villages. So in our area here, we'd only apply to the town of Cedarburg, town of Grafton, not the city of Germantown, not the city of Milwaukee, village of Brown Deer, village of Grafton. It doesn't apply to those.
And it's when there's adjacent land to a township that could impact the surrounding area, which is in the other municipality. So you're able to kind of say, hey, wait a minute, you can't make this, this decision impacts us as well.
Correct, yes. It's a protection. It's a protective measure in a sense.
Like I said, maybe I'm the only one, but I need to make it remedial in order for me to understand how we're even here.
And I don't think
It
it's
felt
necessarily
initially
unique.
heavy-handed.
I don't think it's really common, but it happens more than just, it's not, we're not the only community that exercises this authority. It happens all over the state.
My thought was the same as kind of what Alderman Parrish said around, there was a ton of work done around the Uleo Creek area and that specific zoning. And I know I was thinking, so if we had a buyer who was able to aggregate 185 acres in Uleo Creek, they would be allowed to do the same thing that is being proposed here with the exception of water?
They would have to get a deferral from the water utility, but the plan itself could be identical to what we're recommending in this case.
I had to look back at my own voting record. I'm pretty sure I voted against that density, but here we are anyway. So that makes me a little uncomfortable. I think it's hard to say you can't do this, but we can do it on our side of the border. So I will put that out there, and then again, everyone is welcome to weigh in, not just those who are voting.
Commissioner Barnes.
Yeah, just some general comments. I appreciate the opportunity to coordinate with you folks on a. So I think that's really good, and yeah, there aren't many circumstances like that we encounter, but where they're appropriate, we're doing it. Recognizing the concerns about the Uleo Creek and the water quality, et cetera. I recognize those, but at the same time, I'm seeing the perimeter areas and the treatment of the attention to the water flows. So I do not have a strong concern about significant water impacts in this particular site. The other question about traffic, yes, there's always an increased traffic with any development, regardless of what it is. In this case, my judgment is, yes, there's more traffic, but it is not going to be of great significance to make a big difference here. Yes, it will be different, but it's not a lot. We have to remember we're right next to a major corridor, that being Port Washington Road with a signalized intersection and entrance onto the freeway. So there will be a very concentrated traffic, but again, the volume of that concentrated area, I don't view as being terribly consequential. And then I guess lastly, I'm recognizing this is a higher density lot that we in the city of Mequon would have, but I'm also recognizing that this particular area is along the freeway corridor, where the potential for benefit to a lot of residents is there, and it's feasible in the environmental consequence. So I will be voting in favor of this. Thank you.
Commissioner Hawley.
If they can get, you said they can get to the 30-foot setback and the 32,000 square foot, whatever lot size, does that reduce the density at all?
More than likely not. I mean, they already meet the minimum lot size requirements. It's hard to see on the plan, but the area where we have to get the 30-foot buffer would be along this stretch here,
Okay.
and then down here, and then over here. Now, they could probably cut those lots back and probably still meet the minimum lot size requirement. They may lose a couple in there, but it wouldn't be much. And even the 200-foot setback, if we required the 200-foot setback off Pioneer Road, they'd probably could just bend this cul-de-sac up a little bit and cut some of those lots back a little bit and meet that too. So they'd maybe lose a couple, but it wouldn't be significant.
Commissioner Stoker.
Jack, you mentioned, and I'm not sure if I heard you correctly, that these are required to be mounds. If they do not perk, are they then able to be holding tanks?
We would, well, our condition of approval would be that they would have to show us a perk test that shows their mounds at one point. I think the packet currently says that they would require that prior to common council action in next month. But I think the applicant doesn't like that condition. I don't disagree with that because it's a lot of money to spend on getting those to perk without having vested rights. So we would probably condition upon the rezoning, saying that the zoning doesn't go into effect until you can show us those perks on each of the individual lots. Because we don't want holding tanks.
Grafton normally allow for holding tanks?
That I'm not 100% sure. I think so, but I'm not 100% sure.
We do.
You do? Second question, community well, is that a Mequon request versus individual wells?
We're not making any requests towards community well on this property or individual wells. That's not we don't have any decision making unless Cole added something, which I don't think he did, any requirements for that.
Well, obviously, if it's a community well, it's gonna be a lot easier to tap into water if and when it would ever show up there, if that would become a prerequisite. Because you're gonna have mains from the well to each
Yeah, community well makes it easier to connect, but you're putting in a high capacity well, which is going to draw down the aquifer probably a lot more quicker too. So,
but that is not specifically a Mequon requirement.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, if I might speak on both of those, thank you, Commissioner. Ryan Fritsch with Newman Developments, and I'm joined with our counsel, Matthew Krawczyk. Thank you for having us. The two most recent points brought up, number one with the community well, we're not hoping to burden an HOA with something along those lines. So the plan would be for individual private wells. And then the second question, I'm sorry, if you could remind me, John, the first point that you made.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What was the first point you had mentioned?
The question was if Mequon's stance is if each lot does not perk for a mound. In Mequon, we do not allow holding tanks, and it sounds like the town of Grafton does. Is that a plan, or does anyone know, are these going to perk?
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm very familiar with the soils from doing homes in Saddlebrook Park. They're very bad soils. They're not only are they mounds, they're very large mounds. Most of them are A+4 mounds, and they're expensive mounds. So I'm trying to get a feeling for, is it the intent of the developer that half of these may not perk and half of them are going to be on holding tanks? And if that's the case, I'm trying to make sure that this planning commission understands that, and what does that mean to them?
Yeah, correct. Our intent is to do mound systems, right? Even though the town does allow holding tanks, our intent is to stick with mounds.
And again, I'm bringing it up for two reasons. I guess I was further the question. I've never really understood Mequon's reluctance to allow holding tanks. There's a stigma about them, so in the real estate market, they're not necessarily great, but in certain circumstances, they certainly make sense. But I don't know that that's a conversation we want to have here. I was just trying to understand if you as the developer knew half of these weren't going to perk and half of them are going to be on holding tanks, because that would probably sway the feel of this board.
Yeah, we have not proceeded with individual soil evaluations. That is something we would hope to proceed with after rezoning, which kind of comes back to the condition number 4 in the staff write-up. Typically, and this is pulling straight from Mequon's municipal code too, is that soil testing is a platting condition, right? So it's really separate from zoning, separate from consideration of parameters of lot sizes, right? So when we would come forward with a preliminary plat, we would have to prove that we can achieve a mound system, right? And if we can't, then the lot just wouldn't exist. And the preliminary plat is reviewed by Ozaki County as well, so that they would have review authority over that.
All right, don't all jump at once. Anyone from our friends in the town of Grafton have anything they'd like to say?
I'll go ahead. I guess a couple of the comments that I noted on here, to give a little bit of a background from my experience when I've been on the Plan Commission in the town of Grafton, so we do have one. I've been on there since 2016, so coming up on a decent amount of experience and seeing a lot of things. So I would say that as a whole, I would say that the town of Grafton has a very robust zoning code. So while we are still a township, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think, about 4,300 residents. So we're not, an up north, out in the woods, a 900 community township. We're one of, a larger one in the area. So we take a lot of things very seriously, as obviously the city of Mequon does. Obviously, we have our staff here and chairman that can speak to. We have one of the very stringent stormwater control problems, because that is one of our largest headaches within our township is stormwater control. So we do take that very much into account. And I would say, concerning the gentleman, and I apologize for not remembering the names quickly, but you had brought up the mound system. Historically, my time in the Plan Commission, when any developer has come in, generally as this one that's the applicant has done, is they try to do the mound first. We do allow for holding tanks, but off the top of my head, or at least under the time that I've been on the Plan Commission, they only do that if they can't, if the soil doesn't perk, not generally trying to say cut costs or not try to do it. Generally, they do it because it's good for the homeowners, and generally in the area such as this, these are generally very nice homes. We're very lucky to live where we do, and it's a popular area that when something does come up for development that takes farmland into a subdivision, generally all the developers we've done in the past have done a very nice job. One of the questions I guess I would ask of our friends here in Mequon is and perhaps Mequon staff, you could guide me on a little bit. So on the buffer comments, so are you looking for that to be a large, like a separate outlot? Because most of the properties on there, when we look at that map, like we're talking about the backyard of these properties, and I would assume Mequon is similar to the town of Grafton. A lot of people generally aren't putting things in their backyard. So there's sort of a natural buffer in that regard, because likely, there's setbacks already for a house, so nobody's generally building their house as far as they can. So there's going to likely, logically, I guess, be a natural thing. But I guess without knowing your zoning code as well as you all do, I would just be curious as to what are you actually looking for as a change regarding?
It would be a outlot, a 30-foot wide outlot around the perimeter of the development. Okay. And that's what we currently require in our Eleo Creek standard.
Okay. And then that's the same as showing as outlet on the bottom for the 200-foot
Correct.
buffer. Yeah.
Yeah, and that point does differ versus south of Pioneer Road, but it is a condition that we'd be willing to incorporate.
Because you sort of already have a natural or an outlot, in that.
Correct, yeah.
Zoning already, so it's just expanding it a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's no secret to anyone in this room, but there is an existing berm that does provide some significant screening too. So the intent would be to really disturb that as little as possible, with the exception of the road connection. And then along with the open space buffer would really provide a significant offset from Pioneer.
And then are there, speaking of the buffer, just the buffer, we're just talking about flat open area, not necessarily bermed or plantings, or is there any other specific requirements that you're seeking?
Well, if you were in Mequon, we'd have a probably different standard, but we don't want to get involved into that level of detail in town of Grafton. So you guys would have to decide how you want to handle that. We would have either a stewardship plan or some sort of landscaping, but I think we have enough work on our own side of the border. So
Well, and that probably brings me to my last sort of point of listening, to thus far that, while this is Jetsco and it's definitely new for us as well as your members, it is the way the ordinance is written, so that's why we're all here. But at the end of the day, from, again, my personal perspective is this is still a development that while Mequon has some oversight and you can give us your guidance of what you'd like to see, it's still a town of Grafton development. So for me personally, we allow holding tanks in our town. We allow private wells. We still have our very strict stormwater requirement that I couldn't find anything, and that could be my lack of knowledge of perhaps your website, but in the past, obviously, if you think of Ozaukee County, pretty much the town of Grafton has extraterritorial from every incorporated neighbor: Mequon, Cedarburg, Village of Grafton, Village of Saukville, and the city of Port Washington. So we're very familiar with this. But I couldn't find what your plan was overlaid for this area like I could say for the Village of Grafton. So that made it a bit difficult, not knowing what you wanted to do with that area, to sort of wonder what maybe we needed to do different at our Plan Commission meeting. So thus far, aside from the alderman's concerns over community water, am I wrong in understanding that if this was on the other side of Pioneer, the exact same thing would be able to be done?
if it depends on where it was. So again, back to the zoning map. If it was
Creek.
if it was east of Uleo Creek in this area here, yes, you could do something similar. Again, they would still have to be granted a deferral for the water requirement from the Water Utility Commission.
So is there any sort of future land overlay into the town in that area that's showing that you want something different?
No, we haven't. There's no land use plan we've created for the town.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Barnes.
Pardon me, I'd forgotten one last point when I was talking, and that was when looking at the site, I had observed there is quite a berm along the north side. I'm not taking issue with berm, but just simply from a traffic standpoint, again, at the intersection, it looks like there'll have to be a significant amount of cut into that berm for visibility. And I just want to make note on that sufficient cut is made for standard intersection visibility. That's all I wanted to.
Commissioner Barnes is revealing his past life as a certified traffic engineer. Commissioner Ellsworth.
If it's possible, I'd love to ask Mayor Andy his recommendation for this, and if there isn't one, it's understood.
I get to vote on it at a whole nother meeting, but I share concerns with some of my other commissioners that with our zoning to the south and a little bit to the east, allowing for pretty much the same thing, it's not the greatest look to say you can't do the same thing to the north. I know there's a little bit of difference on where the water's coming from, but I think there's a reasonable path to a yes here, maybe. At the last Common Council meeting, there was some concerns about the density on the southern half, and you could split you could certainly recommend it gets split into a couple chunks, and you do one thing to the south, and the farther you get to the north, perhaps it's fine being as dense as it is. I think one reason Mequon's continued interest in exercising extraterritorial control, what if they wanted to put a data center right on the border or a big industrial facility like a meat packing plant or something? Obviously there's a vested interest there. I'm a little less concerned about 1 acre residential housing. We've got lots of 1 acre residential housing in Mequon. And if I put myself in Grafton's shoes, we're all getting squeezed by the state on municipal finance. And the only way to provide a little bit of relief for many communities is by accepting a little bit of development. And I'm sure that's the motivation here is you've got a budget that's growing year over year. And when money was cheap at 1%, you could kind of borrow and get along. But now money's more expensive to borrow, and you're probably looking to grow a little bit to keep up with your budget. I don't think we want to get in the way of that. We want to find a way to do it that works for both parties, obviously. And I probably won't even get the vote on this at the next meeting because I don't get the vote unless there's a tie. So I'm not sure it matters what I think, but those are what I think of when I think of this. It's a nice plan overall. It's very similar to what we allow just to the south. There is the one difference about this is likely to never be served by municipal water. If you ever wanted to, it's about 0.4 of a mile from where it could ever end up if we ran it all the way to the north along the Port Washington Road corridor. But with that, I'll sit back and see what the other commissioners have to say.
Will you say that part again about the water? That was going to be my next.
Well, if we ever, and that's a lot of ifs, if we ever ran a water pipe all the way the 2 miles up Port Washington Road from roughly where it is now at Columbia St. Mary's
That's about as far as it goes.
to the corner where the development has been approved. So ironic that the furthest lot is where the first development was proposed. Wasn't exactly how people envisioned it. If we got water to there, it's 0.4 of a mile down the road to the entrance to this subdivision. If you use the road, it's a little closer if you hit the corner of the lot, maybe half that. I was just measuring it on Google Maps.
How far, where's the closest connection to City of Grafton water?
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe,
That should be, you should be able to answer that.
I think it's probably up in here, my guess is.
Yes.
It is, yes.
So how far is that?
It's probably,
Not answering, which makes me think you haven't looked into it at all.
No, there's
Block is about
there's
a mile,
water
so
and sewer along Riverbend Road, and that's over a mile from the northern edge of this property.
So you haven't, so similar to what Alderman Parrish said, I share that concern as well because I think it is a distinguishing characteristic how the Oleo Creek zoning is written versus how you have this set up. Are you concerned with the environmental corridor here and the sensitivity of that area, or?
Yeah, any environmentally sensitive areas, we're keeping in outlots. Both the Milwaukee River and Oleo Creek, for that matter, are over 900 feet from any proposed lot here. So, in fact, on the concept plan, you can't even see the Milwaukee River. So, there was a mention of fertilizer and runoff concerns. Like, there's a pretty significant offset from any major water body.
and I would add, there's an existing development that's been here for quite a long time that's basically separating them from the river in this area right here. These are homes are all on that three-quarter acre lots. I'm pretty sure those are all on mound and wells.
Yeah. If you look at the one in section 29 there, if you slide up a little bit, that just to the upper right of the 9 and 29,
Yeah.
that's Uleo Creek in that area right there, and that's Town of Grafton development, Blanks Crossing, that's on mound and potentially some holding tanks, but mostly mounds, because I live very near there and drive by every day. So their backyards are Uleo Creek. Yes, private wells and mound and holding tank.
And most of this is farm field today? Mm-hmm. And there's no fertilizers at all being used on those farm fields, right?
I wrote that one down, but I wasn't going to bring it up, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, just checking. Commissioner Parrish.
Jeff, can you go back to their development plan quick?
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, forcing them to hook up to water, just to kind of be consistent with our own parameters, I understand that that may not be feasible. I guess that I'd like to ask that either Jetco consider or give the developer a heads up. The one solution I'll propose at council, it would be the whole southern, the whole quadrant on the bottom, lots 1 through 7, 54 through 58. I would just request, I'm not sure how much distance that is, if you could estimate that, but let's say that's 200-300 feet.
From where?
From Pioneer Road to the back of lot 54.
Lot 54. Yeah, it's about 300-400 feet, I'd say.
Yeah. So what if we were to approach it as maybe that would be like a 2.5 acre density right there. I think that would address a lot of council's concern about what's being put at our border, and perhaps that's a fair compromise. Thank you for your consideration.
So you're saying basically almost
Hearing
from,
Alderman Bach. I saw him raise his hand. We've closed public hearing, but
Is he allowed to?
well,
if he
gets,
has an opinion, I mean.
he gets to be at the next meeting, unlike the average member of the gallery right now. So hold that thought.
just going to clarify what you're saying. So you're saying basically almost the lots that are south of maybe this property line here, going across, those you would want at 2.5 acre? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
And I'll add one last thing, and then I'll stop talking. But, you know, if at the rate we're at developing Port Washington Road, it could be 2 decades or more before there's water anywhere close to the northern end. It's not exactly developing fast. I think the only one to develop any of it's sitting right to my right, and there's already water there. We're going to be granting deferrals, but it's going to be a long time, more than likely, till there's water anywhere close to the northern half of that. So there'll be wells in the ground for a couple of decades before we ever put municipal infrastructure out there, more than likely. That's just the reality of it.
But
well, Commissioner Barnes, and then I'll.
If possible, I'd like to place a motion.
It's always appropriate for a motion. We can always not second it or vote it down. So
there we go. Okay. I would like to propose approval of the rezoning to R3 as indicated in our staff recommendation and report, specifically with the concept plan as presented, the 30-foot buffer, south side development open space, and the open space along Pioneer Road.
I'll second that.
Just to clarify, are you including the condition regarding the mound systems in that?
I'm sorry?
Are you including the condition regarding the mound system requirement in that?
Yes, thank you.
the modified version we spoke about.
Yes, the modified version that it's just as a condition of approval, not necessarily by council.
Condition 4 as written, but it's.
Yeah.
Okay, the one where it'll it'll happen after the rezoning, and if you can't perk, it won't be ineligible.
Thank you.
That one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Make sure it's totally clear.
Yeah, thank you. If we could simplify that, the request would be just the first sentence, that each lot shall be served by septic or mound systems per section 58-632D, which is straight from the land division ordinance.
That's fine.
That work?
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as it's clear and
Intended.
staff says it's clear. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We can continue to debate if there's other commissioners that have questions, especially the ones who get the vote this evening. We can all speak though, but no other questions or feedback. We can always call the vote.
I'm not sure on this one on the Roberts rules, but having not heard that line, I wouldn't have seconded as quickly. to be honest.
Okay, you can still withdraw your second.
I would withdraw my second then.
Okay, and maybe a little commentary. What was deficient with the motion in your eyes?
I would like to keep our holding tank option, since this is ultimately developed in the town of Grafton. I would rather not deviate, but we can, I know the developer said that works, but that's a lot of faith on soil tests without having done one yet. So I would rather keep the option there, because even if this doesn't go through and it's the next time we meet again, I would rather have that precedent there, that we remain with our requirements.
As the applicant, we would support that.
I motion a second.
So he's putting the second in place of.
Are you
place of
seconding?
He withdrew his, correct?
He did, yes.
So I motion a second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second on the original motion. Any other comments or questions?
Just wait, on the original without number 4? Or with number 4?
This includes the number 4 with the modifications.
Includes number 4, just basically the first sentence of number 4, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
With the seconds being stricken.
It's inferred though, isn't it? The
Huh?
second sentence is still inferred.
Well, it'll be, the issue they're having a problem with is that they would have to provide passing soil tests prior to common council review of this item, and they don't want to do that, which makes sense. So it's just a condition of the zoning.
Done by the
For
next
the
meeting.
rezoning, gotcha.
Okay, so the difference being, well, they won't have to do it by the next common council meeting,
Yes.
which is only 3 weeks
But they'll
away.
have to do it before the plat.
They'll have to do it before the plat.
Yep.
The gentleman in the corner here would like to see a option of last resort still be a holding tank, but that's not what's in this current motion that sits on the floor. Just so everyone who needs to vote knows what they're voting for.
Yep.
Which is always good.
So you're saying the vote would not include holding tank?
This one would not include a holding tank.
Would not permit or allow holding tanks.
Yeah,
Would not allow.
would not allow, in theory.
And if it's worth the committee's time to provide context, it kind of goes back to my point that very few things are different about this, should it be on the south side of the road, but it's not on the south side, it's on the north side. So if everything is pretty much congruent to what Mequon can do, it's still a development in the town of Grafton that I would ask that, honor that it's still a part of our community and not yours, and we appreciate your guidance and advisory over it.
I think at the end of the day, though, you're looking to get approval for this, and I have a feeling that even if it got passed through this committee, the council, I don't think is going to weigh in favor of that not having that requirement in there. So at the end of the day, I think we're trying to all get to a point where we want to get something accomplished. And if it requires negotiation, negotiation. I think the fact that we don't allow the holding tanks is a good reason why we feel that it's a legitimate concern and a legitimate condition to place on this requirement.
And of course, we would feel the opposite since we do allow holding tanks.
Correct. But again, we have the extraterritorial authority, zoning authority, so we have to sign off on this.
Understood.
So.
I'm going to resist the obvious pun over the the holding tanks. If you're following me, you already got it. So we have a motion and second on the floor. Any other feedback from the commission? We can always call the vote and see how it goes. All right. Commissioner Schaefer?
I will explain. I'm going to vote no, but I don't like the density and I don't like the holding tanks, but I agree that that the density is allowed on the Mequon side. Therefore, I don't feel comfortable saying no. To me, it's about the water, which is the lever we have to pull in Mequon. And I would vote no for a subdivision of this density in Uleo Creek as well, unless water was going to be a part of it. So
But
just
it's
explaining.
permitted per the code. You won't even get the vote on it.
Not if we would require them to connect, though, to water, right?
No, we
get a
can't,
deferral.
we can't require that. That would have to go through the Water Utility
Who gets to
Commission.
decide the deferral?
The Water Utility Commission, which is the common council.
The who?
The Water Utility Commission, which is the common council.
Yeah, if someone goes and puts a development up on halfway up and it's a mile to run a pipe, they'll get a deferral. All day long, twice on Sunday.
This is dumb. Okay, let's go.
No, it's just the way it works. That's.
I didn't like the density in the first place. I continued to object to it, but here we are.
Can we stop that density?
No, I mean, we'd have to change the Oleo Creek zoning, and that was a 2-year effort.
No, that's been in place for years now, getting close to a decade.
Yeah,
not quite.
5 years, I'd say.
No, it took 5 years to get
Yeah,
that.
yeah. From the start, it was a decade, yes.
It was a lot
Start
of
to
smart,
finish, it's almost a
hardworking
decade.
people that were involved. It was a big effort.
Okay. Let's call the roll.
Okay.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Barnes.
Aye.
Commissioner Ellsworth.
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Oh,
Commissioner Robinson. Commissioner Stemper.
No.
Commissioner Toma.
Aye.
4-2, does it pass?
Passes.
Vote passes 4-2.
4-2. Makes it officially.
Thank you for your
nothing more
time.
to talk about. It passes 4-2. We'll move on to the council, probably at next month's meeting.
Yes.
All right, stay tuned. Lucky guys from Grafton, thank you for coming. You get to leave early. We got to still do some business.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Oh, we'll take a short break, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Allow commissioners that need to have a bio break. Again, and
what's the cost of a holding?
I think we've got everyone, don't we?
Allowing that everywhere else, that's a big issue in general.
Sorry.
Wow.
We're gonna get going again. I've been alerted to a procedural issue, and we're looking for a motion to reconsider the consent agenda for items A, C, and D. And then we'll put all the toothpaste back in the tube. I'll explain it as we go. Is there a motion to reconsider?
Move to Second?
There's a motion and a second to reconsider. Okay. All those in favor of reconsidering the consent agenda for A, C, and D, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I'm going to ask that someone ask for item D to be removed. And if they could be so kind as to accommodate that request.
And can we please to remove item D from the consent agenda?
Okay, so.
Is that right?
Yep,
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Okay. Well, don't recuse yourself yet. We're gonna take up consent agenda items A and C.
Okay.
All those in favor of approving items A and C, please say aye.
Aye. Moving the other
Any
two,
opposed? Items A and C are approved. We will now take up item D, and Commissioner Stoker will recuse himself. And are there any questions on item D?
D is in.
D is in dog. There's
you.
only, yeah. D is the only one left standing. If there are no questions,
Move to reapprove item D from the
move to
consent
approve
agenda.
item D.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
do that for-
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And item D is approved. And now we are squeaky clean. Thank you, everyone, for
Ew.
catching that.
That was close. Weird.
Sorry for the procedural shenanigans, but that brings us to public hearing, our regular public hearing items for the Planning Commission, the first of which is Concordia University. Applicant is seeking a conditional use grant approval to allow for outdoor lighting for the soccer and softball fields for the property located at 12800 North Lakeshore Drive. Is there a motion to go into public hearing this evening?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now in public hearing. Is there anyone here this evening who wishes to speak
This card.
on this item? Yes, sir. Coming up. Is that Chuck?
Chuck.
All right. I got your. I should have read your card. I was expecting.
Well, that's
you.
all right.
All right.
I'm here.
Thank you. You don't have to read your address because I got it written down here.
Not for the record?
I got it in written form, and they'll put it into there after the
It'll
fact.
screw up my whole presentation if
Oh,
I...
sorry. I'm just trying to throw you off your game. Yeah, you got me.
Well, for the record, I want to say that my home is 1,000 feet north of Capco, north of Concordia. In the 16 years since the conditions were approved for Capco Field, two important things have changed. The first is a change in the leadership at Concordia. Since the commercial fish hatchery misfire, the new team has been very proactive with the neighborhood. In December, we met with Concordia and they walked us through their long-range plan. Since that meeting, some of us had great open and frequent dialogue. From my perspective, Concordia and Steve Taylor in particular have been very open to questions about this lighting initiative. They have taken our calls, they've responded to our emails, they provided details when they could. Again, from my perspective, this has been a welcome and a refreshing change for the neighborhood relations with Concordia. The second change that has occurred since Capco Field was approved is that a natural buffer of woods that separated Concordia from the neighborhood is gone, and I mean completely gone. So for over a decade, that woods helped to mitigate the impact of the lights in the PA system from Concordia or from Capco Field. Once the leaves on the mature trees were fully bloomed, the lights were blocked and the sound was dampened. But now the lights at night in the PA system have gotten brighter and louder because that woods is gone. That buffer is totally removed. This change is significant over the time that Capco's been there. It's altered the fabric of summer nights for some of our neighbors. You can sort of escape the lighting intrusion if you run inside your house. But if it's a nice summer night, you have to close your windows to dampen the sound. So with the kind of change that's occurred surrounding Concordia in our neighborhood, it was puzzling for us to see the conditions that were recommended for this new lighting initiative were based on the Capco Field conditions that were created over 16 years ago. Especially considering the location of the proposed lights is even closer to the residences than Capco Field. And based on the proposal, the light crosses lot lines and it ends up less than 20 yards from houses in the woods. I sent everybody an email with some thoughts on what I read in the staff recommendation, and I will go through those really quickly here because I'm sure you've all had a chance to read them. My first thought is rather than apply the Capco Field conditions that were created 16 years ago, let's evaluate this proposal based on the current neighborhood conditions without natural light and a light buffer that is gone for the use of these specific fields. I would just think that the needs for what is going to occur coming forward have to be a little different than running a 2,000-seat commercial stadium. I wonder, too, if we can't quantify the planned use of the soccer and the baseball fields with the lighting in place. Right now, it seems to me it's a blank slate. The proposal also mentions use of the fields by strategic partners. So that begs the question, with lighting, will these become rental fields for non-Concordia groups? And will that significantly increase the use? I don't know if we're adding 30 events. Are we adding 60 events? Is it 100 events? I did some shirt sleeve math earlier today on the amount of games that the soccer and the lacrosse students played, or at least that's published on the schedule, and it would seem to me that it would be around 50, which is a similar number to what I count for Capco. But I don't know, and it's hard to evaluate the impact that it's going to have on the neighborhood when there's nothing at all for us to measure or to gauge against.
I think with Capco, we are able to actually, based on the use conditions, put a number to it or a rough number to it from a to comply standpoint. The time for the use of the lighting should be based on the use for these fields. There's a lighting requirement or a limit that says 11 p.m. for these fields, which is the same as Capco Park. I felt like that requirement was created 16 years ago when we were having discussions here about the need to have an out if a 3.5 or 4-hour baseball game went into extra innings. We didn't want to cut it short, so the lighting requirement was put at 11 o'clock. I just wonder if that is required at this point for this use. Is a soccer game going to run that kind of time frame, and when will it start? So I just wonder about that. In response to the loss of the woods, which served as this natural sound buffer I've been describing, can we reduce the maximum decibel levels without impacting the fan experience? I'm sure you know, and you've heard this, and I've mentioned this to others, the Rock in Franklin has different decibel settings depending on the activity. In 2024, a 55 decibel limit was set, and it was applied to accommodate neighbors at the time, the complaints that they were getting. After that decibel limit happened, here's what one of the neighbors said as reported by Fox 6. This is such a huge difference. I am kind of overwhelmed, actually, said Dana Gint. This is what we've been asking for all along. A year later, that limit was raised back to 65 decibels as the Rock was pursuing and trying to attract a major league affiliated AA ball event or program to their complex. Their argument to increase the sound was strictly driven on revenue to achieve their goal of getting the AA team involved. And I don't think that's the same situation that we have here with Concordia in terms of this being a revenue-driven decision. So I'm just thinking, why don't we set it at 55 for both PA systems and then monitor the impact? Does it have an impact on the fan experience? And if it needs to be changed, then let's come back here and meet again and figure it out and talk about it. Regarding the PA, can we limit the use to actual intercollegiate games and not for practices or scrimmages? Another observation sort of comment is that we notice that the sound from the PA systems can vary from year to year and from season to season. It can be particularly loud at the beginning of the season. We wonder if that's a result of changing personnel running or using the PA system, students, interns who might be involved in the program. And the thought is, can there be some sort of an operating standard that is reviewed with the students who are involved or the team who is involved with the PA system so they understand the knowledge of the requirements and courtesy that might apply to the neighborhood from year to year. I heard from a couple of neighbors, one in particular mentioned that, and this goes to the idea that there is going to be increased use with increased lighting, there'll be increased people. We've heard some concerns that students are using the woods in the north boundary area as a restroom, and perhaps signage or porta potties are going to be needed to help accommodate that. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts. I hope both sides can leave tonight feeling good about this evening. I'm speaking for a lot of the neighbors who live in that area, and I just want to reiterate that the impact of the lights in the PA system is a real deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here this evening who wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion to close public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor of closing public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are back in regular old Planning Commission session. Take it away, Jack.
So I guess I'll start with just some clarifying comments. When Capco was approved, it was at the time there was not a requirement for a conditional use grant. They were approved with building and site plan. That was actually appealed to the Board of Appeals. The Board of Appeals sent it back to Planning Commission, and it also required council approval. And they did end up allowing or requiring use requirements on the site plan, building and site plan approval. So, and after that time, we shortly changed our code to require any outdoor illuminated facilities to be a conditional use grant. And and I have it in the packet, there's certain requirements that they have to meet, and it's listed in the report, which I'll go through in a little bit. And I also have up on the screen the context of the area we're talking about. So here's the soccer field in this location here, and then this is the softball field. There is still a significant buffer of trees along this area here. There's 3 rows at least of arborvitae, and there's some pines behind it that are fairly large in height. There is some, this property here is owned by Concordia. And so the only 2 adjacent neighbors is this property here and then this property here. So I think the plan in place really does a nice job of kind of protecting or mitigating those properties. We'll go through it a little bit, but I just want to give you some context of the area. And this area back here where there potentially, I have some pictures of it if you want to see them. This area, like located in this area here, is very wet. And I don't know, we could require plantings in this area, but I just don't know if they would grow because there's a drainage area that must drain out the field in this area. So I was walking out there a couple weeks ago and it's just really, really soaking wet all the time. So I just don't know if it would grow. But if we're looking for a condition to add more landscaping in this area, we could do that. But you also require remember, these trees have been here probably 30 years. So it's going to take a long time for them to get higher. So in terms of the proposal, let me go back to the packet. So this is kind of the best drawing of what they're trying to do here. So this shows the location of the individual light stanchions. So you have basically 3 on the soccer field, 3 on the softball field, and 1 shared one between them. They show the light trespass requirements getting down to 0 in this location here. They don't show a property line on here, but our code requires 0.01 foot candles at the property line. So my guess is with the trees that are located there probably won't be any trespass on the properties. We will check them and verify them like we do at Capco Field, but I don't see any issue with that. And then another thing I guess I'll add is that in 16 years since Capco was approved, the lighting standards have changed dramatically. The old Capco lights were metal halide. They're 80 feet tall. These are roughly 70 feet tall. And then this area is about 10 foot lower than Capco. So it's about a 20-foot difference in the height of these lights. They're all LED. They have a lot more technology to allow them to be more full cutoff. I put some information in the packet for you about that. And then the conditional use requires certain illumination levels for certain sports. So for soccer, for example, we have a 50-foot candle average illumination. And they're basically right around there at 52. And then the softball has 52 for the outfield and 70 for the infield. They're at 52.96 and 70.73. So pretty much indiscernible to the naked eye in terms of the changes. So they're illuminating these fields to be safe, but not over illuminating them in terms of just causing more light pollution. So we're supportive of that. The reason we included the conditions from Capco Field, because this was a big discussion item at the time, we felt that there were good conditions we placed on them to help mitigate the impact on neighbors, because even if they are full cutoff, they're still going to be seen from properties adjacent. So we added the conditions. We did modify them a little bit to require that no softball game starts the 7th inning after versus the 9th inning of baseball. And we actually had a condition about overtime for soccer. So we kind of covered all those bases. So I think overall we're supportive of the plan, and with our conditions, I think it does a nice job of mitigating the impact to neighbors as best as possible. The decibel, the PA system issue, I don't even know if they were actually using PAs for these 2 facilities, but we just added that same condition. We check those we check Capco every year at 65 decibels. It's really hard to even to measure that because the ambient noise of the freeway and other things actually is louder than that. So it's really, you have to sit there and wait until the freeway traffic dies down before we can get a measurement. And all the years that we've done this, we haven't had any issues with violations with regard to the noise. Now, we don't regulate crowd noise, so there's people cheering. We can't really control that. But in terms of the PA, I think the plan does a nice job of containing the sound within the, you're still going to hear it, especially if the wind blows. There's always different issues that come up, but the 65 decibels is a pretty low level, and it does comply with the plan. Capco Field, every year we've measured it. I guess the only thing else I would add is that the overall plan, I think, we did not include a condition that requires a limit to non-Concordia events. Capco does have a limit. I think it's 45 or 42 events there, but we have no way to control or regulate that. We don't know what's going on out there, so it's a very difficult thing for us to enforce. So we have a condition on there that says over 50, only 51% of the use of this field has to be done by Concordia. That's a little bit easier to monitor and maintain, but just like specific number is very difficult for us because we would have to know everybody playing out there all the time, so we just don't have the enforcement staff to regulate that kind of issue. So I did not include that condition. We can add something if you feel it's necessary, but I just don't feel it's necessary at this point. So with all the work they've done and all the conditions that we have in the report, we're comfortable with recommending approval for this application. Thank you.
Just to clarify, this is just for the lights. There's no plan to add PA systems to these fields. I mean, I go to a lacrosse game there by habit every other year when MSOE plays you on your campus.
Well, we
there's
added
never
conditions
been
regarding a PA just in case
PA
that
system.
if they are operating at night and then they do use a PA, that we want to have be safe. But I didn't get any information from them with regard to having a PA system used at nighttime, but we just placed those conditions as a safeguard.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in the packet about adding a new one.
No.
So we're they're not adding additional amplified sound above and beyond what's there today. Correct? Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. And I don't think in the course of approving this, we can modify the other agreement for Capco Field.
No, that's a different item. That's already been approved, and if laws are in compliance,
Okay.
yes.
Those are my first couple of questions. Any more questions from the commission? Commissioner Hawley.
I guess I am wondering, what are these strategic partners that you would be offering the usage up to? Are there plans for non-Concordia uses at this point?
That language is in there to allow us the flexibility to be able, should we desire, to rent the fields and/or allow us the opportunity to flip games. Our facilities are all turf. So far this spring, we've moved 2 away games to home games because the other team they can't get their fields ready. I will tell you that we have I've been there 25 years as the athletic director. It has not been our intent to create profit centers out of our sport fields. Do we rent them from time to time? One strategic partner would be Homestead High School. They played baseball there this year. They couldn't get their field ready, so Homestead's been out there this year. They've been in our indoor facility as well. Those are the type of partnerships that we're looking for. We're not trying to create a dedicated revenue stream.
Okay.
Commissioner Jordan, sorry.
So clarify for me, is the PA being suggested at these venues? Are they asking for?
They're not. Well, again, we don't approve a PA system in a sense. This is for lighting, but because the lighting allows them to use the facilities at night, we've added those conditions just to protect the impact of the neighborhood by requiring a maximum decibel level of a PA if it is used. Okay. It's not part of their application, but it's not required to be part of the application.
Okay. I think you're right with the new technology of the lighting. You can control the spill onto the other sites. So I think the fixture is not an issue. Where I am a bit confused, there seems to be a number of different bullet points with regards to timing. It says lights shall be turned off by 11 or half hour after a game of extra innings. Does that mean that could be 11:30, 12?
No, 11's the absolute limit.
11's the cutoff, right? Regardless of where they are in a game?
I believe if they can't start an inning after 10 p.m.
They can't start.
or no seventh inning, no new inning shall start after 11 p.m. So if they go into overtime or extra innings, this is the way Capco. This is copied from Capco's basically. So if they're playing softball, their seventh inning starts at say 9:59, and they have to go into extra innings. They can't start an inning after 11 o'clock. So then they have to stop. So they technically the lights could be on until 11 p.m., but only in certain circumstances.
So 11 is the cutoff.
Well, unless the inning starts and ahead of time and they have to finish that inning.
I guess that's where I'm going. It's kind of.
Well, that's how this is. It's copied from Capco Field. This is the same criteria we use for Capco Field. That's why I used it in there.
We wouldn't be playing games at 11 o'clock on these venues. That language was a Capco language because of their start times. Our start times are going to be earlier. These are college kids. We want to get them there, play the games, and get them back home. We wouldn't be playing out there after 11 o'clock.
So might it be clear if we just say, where's it here? Light shall be turned off by 11. Period. That's what I'm
So
proposing.
you'd be essentially modifying condition number 5.
1 and 5.
Well, yeah, you'd be modifying condition 5 to put a period where there is a comma now and strike the rest of it, and then condition 1, light should be turned off by condition 1 stands by 11 p.m. or 1/2 hour after the game.
What, no later than 11?
Yeah.
Okay. And with regards to sound levels, I looked into it. It's kind of interesting. I asked, Googled, what's the difference between 65 and 55 decibels? And they said, obviously, it's a 10.
It's logarithmic, yes.
10 power, but the perception to the human ear is that 65 is twice as loud as 55. And then further research says that at a typical sports settings, decibel ratings are typically 85 to 100. So you're getting this real mixed information. I'm just wondering
Well,
whether.
it's 65 at the property line.
Property line for just the PA system, not the crowd noise.
Louder locally, but it drops off away from the source.
True. I guess I'm just wondering if it might make some sense to address the neighbors' concerns and set it at 55.
I mean, you can make that as a condition. I just, when I was out there, I struggled to find an ambient condition that was under 60 decibels. And so that.
What's funny is I live across the freeway, and sometimes I can hear.
Well, the freeway is almost as loud as.
Off of the Capco field.
I'm about a mile from the freeway, and it's about probably 65 decibels in my backyard now that they've deforested the freeway.
I'm not referring to the freeway noise. I'm referring to the PA system at
But
Capco.
When you're measuring, there's no way to discern between the two. It's all just sound energy. I mean, 65 is about the sound a passing car makes, and 55 is about the sound of a quiet home refrigerator.
Right.
It's incredibly low. And yeah, thanks to the DOT and what they've done with I-43, freeway noise is one of our worst enemies now. I can hear it inside my house when I'm sleeping, and I'm a mile away. With the window shut, I can hear it. It's just, you can't tell if you can't achieve a background reading lower than what you're trying to measure, you can't tell who's really creating the source of the noise. Very difficult. And they're not adding any additional amplified PA systems over above and beyond what they have now. So, Commissioner Barnes.
Yeah, just again, speaking from the old background and doing sound measuring along highway over in Madison, 65 is right along a highway. We were measuring and found it to be significant. I mean, it's way up there. My point is that I think the measurement is appropriate for what what's proposed here with the sports field. The other thing I just wanted to bring is I just make I would favor some kind of plantings in the area that were found to be kind of wet and so forth. I went over to the street and was just kind of playing if I were in the neighborhood, and it looked to me like it's pretty well masked already, even with all the failure of the trees. But I guess I'm looking. Thank you. Yeah, right, for an opportunity for. Granted, the trees are going to. It takes a while, but they can be high-growing trees or fast-growing trees. I know that, and highway buffers as well. So I would just favor incorporating that into this. And then lastly, just an inquiry is there any plan to seek additional lighting someday or in the future? If we were, when you go further to the, I guess it's to the west, for where the track field and so forth is. Just wondering, we're addressing only one area, but could there be further lighting, coming forward in the future?
There possibly could be, but the density of usage suggests that this is the best bang for our buck, is to identify these two fields and light these two fields. The conduit, when we poured the original turf foundation, the conduit and the piping is under there, should we ever want to light it, but it's not a part of any of our strategic plans as of right now today.
And I do have a picture of that area. I took, this is from the, basically looking towards the west. It shows basically that 3 rows of arborvitae and the 2 rows of pines. You can kind of see the house in the back over here. In this area here, this area was really wet. This was right after the heavy rains we had, and this area was soaking wet. So, and you can see all the dead ash trees that were probably in this area here that are just, probably need to come down. But so if you're looking to do a buffer, that would be the only place I would say where it would be impactful is basically in this area here, because then this is Concordia property right here. So I guess I'm not sure if we would buffer their property from themselves. So I guess if you're looking to do any landscaping, this would be the area you would try to add it to. But again, it's going to be 20, 30 years of growth before that actually has an impact. So
I understand and agree with what you're saying, and I guess that's what I'm bringing up. Okay. Is just that small little area within the property.
Commissioner Urbani.
I am never a fan of more lights because I do like looking at the night sky, but I understand that sports, it's easier to have your sporting events if you have light, and we're running out of practice time. Kids are so busy that, they're just playing into the night. And to have that would be a really good benefit for your school. To the residents' question, what number of events would you expect to see? Would it be every night? Would it be every night of the week? Would it be mostly weekends? Do you have any kind of idea around that scheduling?
Yes, we've calculated that the weekday games would be, you're talking about 20 games played at night. And that does not include practices, but competitions, we've calculated it to be around 20. Yes. No, total.
Help me out. And how long is a season for each sport?
Well, men's lacrosse and women's lacrosse are played in the spring. Softball's played in the spring. Men's and women's soccer's played in the fall. And it ends up being, between those 5, averages out to 4 games per season that they would play under the lights.
Oh, so it's 20 games.
20 total for a year.
In a
roughly.
season for all of those sports?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And again, we're doing this to try to protect missed class time. We're moving into a new conference. That conference has members that are further away than what currently we deal with, and it just behooves us and them to have the lights to allow the later start times to keep the kids in class longer. So we're not looking to shift everything to play at night. I mean, we still, I've been at places where you practice at night, but that makes for a long work day. We're just looking for an opportunity to have some flexibility, and that flexibility, when we chart it out, is about 20 games total per year, academic year.
Thank you. I had another question, and then I would support also some kind of plantings, if possible, even low bushes, anything fast growing, anything that can help buffer the sound, break it up. But also making sure there's appropriate signage, maybe you have it already, for and where restrooms are located.
Commissioner Ellsworth.
I just wanted to inquire if Concordia thinks that's reasonable to contribute to the landscaping on that property line.
Yes, we're certainly willing to pursue that.
Commissioner Parrish.
Thank you very much. Welcome back to Concordia. Had the pleasure of reading your submittal. Spoke to Mr. Reynolds in preparation, who on behalf of the neighbors were very complimentary of Concordia University and all your efforts over the last couple of years, especially the current administration. I think there is a great level of gratitude for that, and that was the approach that they took when they called me. I also spoke to Alderman Bach, who, if I miss anything, feel free to interrupt me or speak, but he was also very pleased with your communication, understood the need for this improvement. He and I also were curious about the number of games. You answered that, so thank you very much. It doesn't sound, can you just confirm, will there be a PA system on this field or no? It's a little confusing.
The PA system.
It's part of Capco, right?
No, sir.
Okay.
They're all standalone. So we have press box in soccer and a press box in softball and a press box in football and Capco, and they all have PA systems.
Okay. I think there was a couple of interesting suggestions. Just it seems to be part of the issue with the PA system, maybe music blasting during practice, and not so much an issue with like game time. So a lot of their solutions were actually really kind of reasonable. Just they called them standard operating procedures. Do you have college youth administering like the system for the PA system and the sound and the music, or are they different people, or do you have a technician handling it all?
We have a technician that originally sets the volumes, but then there's a lot of fingers that touch it.
Yeah.
Our professional staff is there, but we also have a student staff. We can look into maybe trying to find a way to eliminate the fingers getting on the dials.
I think their suggestion was more not even having a part of the motion, just kind of like written operating procedures for all the different hands that do touch it, just so that they're also aware of the conditions of these approvals relating to the sound. And as far as the light goes, there's not much we can do about that as far as the light trespass. I think they did a good job with the light plan. I do think one of the suggestions that Alderman Bach and Mr. Reynolds brought up was relating to the timing, which is why not just have the lights go out within 30 minutes after a game ends? I know staff was looking to make the rules consistent with the Capco rules, but would you have a problem with that? Just within 30 minutes of games being over, these lights just go off? Because I think that alone would just make the neighbors happy.
When the game's over, we're going to,
Till 11 o'clock, whenever.
no, we're not just
Okay,
going to burn
yeah.
light to burn light.
So I guess the suggestion was, at least to me, and it seems reasonable, would be 30 minutes after a game concludes for when they're on, and in any event, no later than 11. So that would be one request, and that's really it. The ash trees seem like a long-term problem we're having all over Mequon, and it's, I don't know, Mayor Andy and I were just talking, we might as well start planting them now for 20 years from now for that benefit. And it might make sense to do that just so that you guys aren't living, with this issue 20 years from now. So maybe we could work with the neighbors and kind of clear some of the dead ash and get some new plantings in there for long-term shielding. But I guess I would like, if you can include that as part of the motion, just that the lighting and PA would be off within 30 minutes after a game. I think that would be a fairly reasonable compromise.
Condition 1 is dangerously close to that.
Mm-hmm.
If you simply put a period after the word game, and no matter when the game ends, just turn them off within a half an hour.
Whichever is earlier, though, you'll have to add a qualifier, whichever is earlier. Because if the game was past 11, you would just say you could go on until you have to turn them off at 11:30. But so it's whichever.
I think that's, well, no one's made a motion yet, so we'll see what comes out of that process. But I think the intent was to not have these go. 11 is a hard deadline, and then if the game ends
earlier, then you turn them off earlier.
Then you turn them off within a half an hour.
Yeah, I agree with you. We just need to change the wording of that a little bit.
We'll see what the motion ends up being like shortly here, hopefully. Commissioner Hawley, Schaefer, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong sign and looking at you.
I was going to say the same as Alderman Parrish. It sounds like Concordia is, oh, thank you. It sounds like Concordia has done a good job of working with the neighbors, which is appreciated, and that's not always the case when we hear things here. So thank you for working with the neighbors, for listening. Please continue. Two things. Is PA being used for practice? I think that was something that I'd heard from the neighbors. So is there PA, like music and such, being played? Because that would be additional uses beyond the games that you noted.
I would say sometimes, just for environment and to get the kids excited and that kind of thing. Is it a daily use issue? I don't believe it to be. I don't have a firm handle on how many those are used for practice.
I'm torn about this one. As an athlete or a has-been athlete and a neighbor, is it a must-have?
It's a much liked.
Well, I would also just be cautious that, right now, there's no requirements on daytime noise for them. So, they could be out there cranking music, and as long as it's not causing a nuisance, they can do it without any limitations. The 65 decibel requirement is related to the nighttime usage. I mean, it can apply to the daytime, but it's really a nexus to the nighttime use of the lights.
I think we make a distinction between it because people probably like a little more peace at night. I think noise during the day is a little bit more
acceptable,
kind of expected because people are out and about. Okay, I have to think about that if I make a motion. The lights. So I saw you conferring, that 11 p.m. time was suggested, and your face was like, yeah, that's no problem. What the majority of the time, what time do you think things would be done? Like, would you be amenable to a time that's different than 11 p.m., perhaps earlier? Or is that really the most, I won't feed it to you. You tell me.
I don't want to paint us into a corner.
I get it.
But we're not going to be playing softball or soccer or at 11 o'clock at night.
It's different than a baseball game.
It's different because of the nature of the start times. Mm-hmm. The Chinooks start at 6 o'clock or 7. I think it's 6:05, but I believe it's 6. we're not going to be doing that. We're going to start our games, if they're night games, we're going to start at 4. And if there's a second game, that one would start at 7, and you're done by 9. But I would not want to paint us into a corner
Understood.
stipulating an off
time
time
that's-
beyond what we already have agreed to.
And you'd have to, for it to happen frequently, you'd have to keep on intentionally tying the game just to drag it out. It just doesn't happen that
No, I
often.
know. And to the neighbors, that's less consolation than having a time that's earlier. I'm thinking through the reality of what you need, which is to have the flexibility, should there be some extenuating circumstances, whatever, lightning delay, something, right? And that should be the exception, I think, based on what you said.
Those would be the exceptions.
And also, as a neighbor, it's nice to, 11 p.m., I don't know, if I was home, I could probably be in my PJs right now. So some people just go to bed a little bit earlier than others, and 11 p.m. is pretty late if you're someone that, if you're someone that wants to go to bed a little earlier. And I don't know. I see your point. I'm just thinking about how I would phrase a motion. So I'm going to pause and try to do that. Think about it, not make the motion.
Any further comments or perhaps a motion?
I'll take a whack at a motion.
Okay. We have a potential motion coming.
I move for approval based on the following. Lights off 30 minutes after a game, practices, or intramural sports no later than 11. Additional landscape buffer adjacent to residents. Staff shall check light and sound levels at least once a year for compliance with the Plan Commission approval. The college will train operators on use of the equipment to ensure that the decibel levels are met. Any public address system used for the field shall not exceed 65 decibels at the property line. Signage regarding locations of restrooms will be installed. Period.
Just want to clarify one thing. The first condition you stated was regarding, because right now we have the practices and intramural sports has to be done by 9 p.m. And I thought you said that all of it had to be done by 11 p.m.
No, I said that lights off for any of those events
Half an hour after.
30 minutes after they're done, but no later than 11.
Right. Right now the condition though states that intramurals and practice has to be off at 9 o'clock. So you could potentially be.
Okay, so
So if you want to just
the lights
refer to
off
just
30 minutes
games.
after a game, and use of lights for Concordia practices, intramural sports shall be limited to 9 p.m.
Okay. Just want to clarify that.
Yeah, I think we're still, your intent is to still keep conditions 10 and 11, or 11 from the staff report.
Point of clarification. When you
Yes.
say plant the trees,
10 and 11, fine.
are you talking about that little space that Jack identified, or our own property line?
Just on the part that abuts the residents, not your property.
Okay.
That little nook in there, yeah.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
For a point of clarification, are we eliminating number 6?
Yeah, I feel like we have to go through the conditions and then add.
Yeah, is there,
Kind of all wrapped up in there.
And I'm fine with that. So my question is, should we eliminate a couple of these others that
So
There's not confusion.
scratching 4, 5, and 6.
That's
Well,
right.
if 11 is just a hard limit, then the rest of it's just,
Scratch 4, 5, and 6.
the rest of it's just game management. That happens before it. Then you can
So that is-
accomplish that any way you want.
So scratching 4,
yeah.
5, and 6 is part of your motion? Is it still part of your second?
Yes.
Get simpler.
Yeah.
You're getting rid of 4, 5, and 6? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like
Okay.
11 is just a hard limit, and then the half hour after game time, they go down, lights go off.
Okay. That's even less restrictive.
Okay.
Friendly amendment?
You have to ask the motioners.
No.
You haven't heard it yet. I'm wondering about amending condition 9 to say only used for Concordia games. You don't have to accept.
Well, we'll keep that one in there then. I didn't eliminate it.
No.
But I
But
didn't
it's-
say it either, though, right?
The distinction Commissioner Schaefer's trying to make is to try and limit it only to games and forbid them from using it for the practices that they use it for now, which
What a killjoy I am.
I'm not sure is the best move, but
No.
You don't have to.
It sounds like they would like to use it, practice and games, so given that, we should take number 9 out also.
well, no, I think you want to keep it in. She wants to reword it.
I was just going to reword the last word, Marty.
Go
and
ahead.
just, I guess my concern, or my thought is 20 games a year in the evening is one thing, but practice, athletes practice every day.
The practice ends at 9 o'clock. Use of the lights and PA can be
Yeah.
limited for practice till 9 p.m.
It's still PA every night. It could be. I'm not saying it's the must like, right? Must, that would like to have.
But they're saying that they typically practice during the day.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's really not an issue.
You don't have to like it. You don't have to accept that amendment. It was
They're
friendly.
probably looking to save on electricity too, I would imagine. Prices going up
You
and
don't
all.
like the amendment, you don't have to accept it.
We're still friends.
And your amendment again, please?
My suggestion was the PA system shall be used only for Concordia games. It could be,
Well, if you're not comfortable with the friendly amendment, you could make a separate amendment just for that specific item after the motion has been made for the other items and see if there's enough
I'm
support.
noodling on it still. I mean,
I'd like to keep it as it is.
All right, we have a motion and a second as is. Any further comments? Seeing and hearing none. Oh? You're good?
Yep.
All right. I saw a glimmer of wanting to say something. Okay. Let's call the roll.
Commissioner Urbani.
Aye.
Commissioner Barnes.
Aye.
Commissioner Chorin.
Aye.
Commissioner Hawley.
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer.
aye.
Commissioner Stoker. Alderman Parrish. Mayor Nurbin.
Aye.
Vote passes. I only called 8 on purpose. Sorry.
That's all right.
If you were questioning why I didn't call on Commissioner Ellsworth this time.
Oh, we got alternates, odd man out. Yeah, we've got a full house tonight.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Good luck. Brings us to item 5B, the Victory Companies Incorporated for Timis, Timmis, Timmis.
Timmis.
Did I do that right? Applicant is seeking a conditional use grant amendment approval to allow for modification to the regulations of the warming drawer temperature for the guest home located at 3131 West Dodgers Bay Road. For the record, Commissioner Stoker has recused himself.
Thank you.
And left the
Noted.
area.
And now Commissioner Ellsworth can vote again.
And now Commissioner Ellsworth can vote. Yeah.
You're in, you're out.
Congratulations.
You're in, you're out.
All right. So staff, catch us up to where we're at.
Do we have to open or close a public hearing yet?
Back in, Coach.
No, it's a public hearing. So,
Yes.
Okay,
Move to open public hearing.
there we go.
And-
There's a motion and a second. All in favor of entering public hearing, please say aye.
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 Is any opposed? We are now in public hearing. Is anyone here, other than the applicant, wish to speak on this? I'm guessing not. Hearing and seeing none, all is in favor of closing public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are back out of public hearing. Thanks for the reminder.
Yes, no problem.
So formal for such a simple issue. Okay, now Jack will tell us why
So
we're back.
I'm sure you all recall back in December, we had this item in December of 2024, I believe. This item was in front of a PC for approval for a guest house. I think it was Commissioner Strelczyk at the time made a motion to allow for a warming oven to be used as long as it did not exceed 200 degrees. If you recall, staff did not support the warming oven because it can be used for limited cooking and a guest house should not have cooking equipment in it. The commission agreed with Commissioner Strelczyk and approved the warming drawer at 200 degree limit. When we did our final inspection on the property, we found out the warming drawer goes up to 210 degrees. We asked the applicant why they could not comply with your requirement, and basically the arguments were that their suppliers didn't have an option for a 200 degree oven. We did find other options available. They also felt that the requirement was arbitrary and capricious, which may or may not be, but that would have been an issue for Board of Appeals at the time. So now that Board of Appeals time has lapsed, they're in front of you asking for approval for an amendment to the conditions to allow it to go up to 210 degrees. Again, staff recommended denial originally, so our recommendation still remains to be denial.
All right, we're all caught up. Couple of us weren't here back then, but most of us were. Commissioner Urbani.
Excuse me. So I was here when this originally came up, and I'm sure what I did, because I have in my notes, that the max temperature of a warming drawer was 200 degrees. So I probably went on Google and said, what is the traditional temperature of a warming drawer? And I did it again, and it said between 140 and 200 degrees, which is generally what's necessary for food safety. So I think we picked 200 degrees consciously. I also looked at crock pots because we were talking about would we rather have a series of hot plates and crock pots on a counter or to have a built-in warming drawer that had, electrical fail-safes. And crock pots are at 200 degrees on the low setting, 300 degrees on the high setting. And then just for the heck of it, I did look up, how many warming drawers are at or below 200 degrees. And the first, of course, this is Google, which is not always perfect. The vast majority of residential warming drawers operate at or below 200 degrees. So I think we did choose 200 degrees. Maybe we did not research every single model out on the market. But it looks like there are a number of good brands available that come at that temperature. I am learning now that they go up to 250 degrees, which is new information for me. Thank you.
I have a question. Do we define a warming drawer in our code? And should we perhaps write a definition?
We don't define it. We just basically say you cannot have cooking, which includes an oven, stove, or cooktop. But I think the commission, though, in December, basically made the stipulation that a warming oven is allowed at 200 degrees. And so we added that as a condition. We verified it, and they did not comply with it. So that's why we'd be.
Kind of made it after the fact allowable because we allowed one.
Yes. So
I'm going to offer a suggestion that maybe will make everyone happy tonight. We should add it to our code so there's no question. Because we've kind of allowed it. Now everyone else is going to come back and ask for the same exception. So that cat's out of the bag. And in our code, maybe we should define it as 210 degrees. And we can stick with that. And then these poor people don't have to rip out their oven. And I get it. We put a number. It got ignored. It happens. But it's 10 degrees. And no one's going to be cooking pizzas in this thing because they'll take 6 hours to cook a pizza. So we can define it and put it in stone, and we'll kind of codify the exception we've already granted one property. It'll be clearly defined for everyone. Then we never have to talk about it again because we put it in the code.
Unless somebody proposes one that's 250 degrees or 240
Because
degrees.
we wrote it down in the code, and we can say it's clearly not arbitrary because we wrote it down in the code, and then we're covered for foreseeable future. And we hopefully never have to talk about warming drawers ever again.
Yeah, it's not something staff is, willing to spend a lot of time on either, but we would be derelict in our duties, I think, if we did not enforce the requirements of our PC.
Yep,
So,
you're doing what's required. I'm just offering an alternative that buttons it up tighter for the future, but gets us out of tonight.
I like
And I don't
that
get to make a
idea.
motion, but I can only chair the meeting. Any other thoughts from the commissioners?
I don't like being called capricious and arbitrary.
I've been called way worse, but that happens after 14 years in politics.
Because we did have a fairly robust discussion about it, trying to be sensible. But I agree that it should be in the code. I just don't like the interpretation of, well, you said this, but we'll do what we want.
I think there's a little bit more to it than that, but
I'm okay adding it to the code. I think you're going to see this again, and why not just have it there?
well, again, if you want to go down that path, I would recommend approving it. And then as the chair of the planning commission, you can sponsor your own text amendment to allow us to add that to upcoming meeting and change the code permanently if you want.
yeah, I think that's the suggestion. For these auxiliary dwelling units, state, no oven, et cetera, but you can have the warming drawer, define the warming drawer in the code and the definitions and put the temperature limit in there, and then hopefully it never has to come up again because we've been straightforward and it's in the code. I know it'll come up again, but
Yeah.
there'll be plenty of discussion on where the number came from and why, and then we can be good to go, hopefully. So looking for a motion, unless someone's got a better idea.
Great.
Commissioner Hawley.
Perfect. I move approval at the 210 degrees and then,
With the condition that we're going to change the code so it never
Correct,
comes up again?
yes. Yep.
Okay. There's a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Hopefully that works for everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. All right, we are on to regular business, the one and only item on regular business tonight. Mark Lalonde, the applicant, is seeking development agreement and minor request approval to allow for 36,200 cubic yards of fill for contaminated soil capping for the property located at 6529 West Highland Road. We first need a motion to remove this from the table.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of removing from the table, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's now back in front of us. Jackson, give us a quick update on what's changed, or Cole, actually, what changed since last time.
Yes.
Things have become a little more clear, so.
Yes, I won't go over everything from last time since we had a pretty extensive discussion on all the details, but I can certainly answer questions if there are any. We are returning with this item for number one, filling in excess of 1,000 cubic yards. This request is for around 36,000 cubic yards for this first phase. And the second part is a development agreement for this item and the construction associated with it. This is proposed as a first of, I believe, 11 phases. The intent of the project is to cap the site from environmental contaminants ahead of any future, potential future development. We were here at the March Planning Commission meeting, and we recommended tabling due to number one, needing the development agreement application for this body and council approval to lay out some protections for city utilities, streets, like we do most other construction projects of this scale. And we also needed some additional clarifications and plans, including the one on the screen right here, which is the revised grading plan for phase one. We wanted a haul map for where this hauling is going to occur on city streets and some clarifications on the environmental filling operations and things like that for the capping. The applicant has since provided those since the last meeting, so I think that staff has everything they need to at least react to the initial request. Just to revisit the Planning Commission approval for the fill permit as well as the, or I guess the work associated with the fill permit is good for 1 year. So after the first phase, the applicant would then come back to this body to proceed to future phases. They'd also be required to provide an as-built substantially matching what they proposed for phase 1. The development agreement, I don't have the entire development agreement technical language in this packet. The city attorney is reviewing that. However, I do have the kind of the framework of that agreement that we're looking at tonight and asking for your approval of. And I have kind of a summary of what that development agreement would outline, mostly being protection of city facilities, adherence to our specs as any other development would. But the final version will be reviewed at Common Council next month, given this body approves that. So in summary, we recommend approval of the request based on the updated documents that the applicant provided, as well as approval of the development agreement, subject to the conditions in the packet.
Thank you, Cole. Any questions or comments from the commission? Everyone's tired from the previous lengthy discussion items. We can always just make a motion.
I'm going to make a motion to approve per staff's recommendations.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any last comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Items approved. Oh, one no. We got one no.
Good. Yep. You're still passed.
You're still passed.
You're good.
You're good. Just wasn't unanimous. So. You too, thanks. Next, we have announcements. The next meeting is Monday, May 18th, 6 p.m. right here, which brings us to the need for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.